Thank you for joining my lecture. Today, I talk about attacks on Asian Americans online. What's happening in the US? The FBI warned at the start of the COVID outbreak in the US that it expected a surge in hate crimes against those of Asian descent. Hate crime in 2019 were at their highest level in over a decade. What kinds of discrimination have been reported? A. Verbal harassment. B. Shaming. C. Physical assault. D. Coughed or spat on. E. Workplace discrimination or refusal of service. Celebrities and influencers have spoken out after several disturbing incidents went viral on social media. Here are some of the recently reported attacks. An 84-year-old Thai immigrant in San Francisco, California, died after being violently shoved to the ground during his morning walk. In Oakland, California, a 91-year-old senior was shoved to the pavement from behind. An 89-year-old Chinese woman was slapped and set on fire by two people in Brooklyn, New York. A stranger on the New York subway slashed a 61-year-old Filipino-American passenger's face with a box cutter. Asian-American restaurant employee in New York City told the New York Times they now always go home early for fear of violence and harassment. An Asian-American butcher shop owner in Sacramento, California, found a dead cat likely intended for her left in the store's parking lot. Police are investigating it as a hate crime. An Asian-American family celebrating a birthday at a restaurant in Carmel, California, was belated with racist slurs by a Trump-supporting tech executive. Several Asian American home owners say they've been abused with racial slurs and had rocks thrown at their houses. What's the situation in California? Over 6 million Asian Americans live in California, according to the latest population estimates, by far the most in any U.S. state. They make up more than 15% of residents in the state. The coronavirus hit the state hard and early, grinding its bustling cities and businesses to a halt. The virus has already claimed over 50,000 California lives. From March to May 2020 alone, over 800 COVID-related hate incidents were reported from 34 counties in the state, according to a report released by the Asian Pacific Policy Planning Council. Those numbers have since intensified in Orange County, where anti-Asian hate incidents were up by an estimated 1,200%, according to the Center for the Study Hate and Extremism. In neighboring Los Angeles County, hate crime against Asian Americans are up 150%, CBS News reported. What's the reaction? Advocates for Asian Americans say the violence can be linked to the rising anti-Asian sentiment in the U.S. Some have directly blamed the anti-China rhetoric of former President Donald Trump, who often made mention of the pandemic as the China virus or the Kung Fu. During his first week in office, President Joe Biden signed an executive action essentially banning the use of such language within the federal government. But with Democrats now in control of both chambers of Congress, lawmakers and activists are calling for more attention and resources devoted to the issue. California Congresswoman Judy Cha, chair of the Asian Pacific American Caucus, called the recent incidents a crisis point for the community. She and other lawmakers are pushing for the U.S. Department of Justice to expand efforts to report, track, and prosecute hate crimes. At the state level, California lawmakers allocated $1.4 million in state funds to expand data collection, advocacy initiatives, and resources for victims. On the ground, there are more local efforts to combat the hate too. In Orange County, neighbors stepped in to help out an Asian American family after a group of teenagers repeatedly targeted them for months with little police intervention. Neighbors now stand guard outside the family's home each night, the Washington Post reported. Attacks against Asian Americans. From BBC article summary. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel to maintain these educational activities. I'm looking forward to seeing you again.